Tortilla Flats mural project. The interview renderings, the original oral history. This is Ralph Romero. It was in August 19th, 1994. The interview was Moses Mora. M.B. Hanrahan was videotaping, and Suzanne Lawrence transcribed the original interview and condensed it into this form, which we call renderings, so it runs more like a narrative. Okay, so this is in the voice of Ralph Romero. Tortilla Flats starts somewhere in the avenue, Brook Street and Garden Street and part of Olive. That's just what the people called the area of colored people and Mexican people, some Italians. They were all in this area clear up to Palm Street. Front Street used to go on to the other side of the tracks, too. My grocery used to be on Mita, near the corner of Figueroa, a terrific business, but finally the wife wanted me to retire. I was born in 1909, and I was getting old, so we let it go, but it was very good paying. Everyone in the neighborhood was a customer. And then there was Enrique's Market. He was a good friend. We went to school together when we were little. And Feliz used to have a grocery store on Valdez, a little street, by the little entrance to Seaside Park. There is nothing there now. There were some cabins for rent, and there was another little grocery store, Shore Acres. At one time, they wanted to sell it to me, and I tried to get it for my boy so he could run it. The bathhouse was on California Street at the end. It was a big 2-story deal with a ballroom. Then I was courting the wife back in the early 30s. Ted Fiorito was playing upstairs. They used to have a fence deal up at the top, and we used to go and look at the ocean. On the bottom, they had another floor, and they had a roller skating rink, and then under that, they had a swimming pool. From Garden Street, at the police department, you came over to Main Street, and right around the corner, there was a bowling alley and the Bamboo Room. Then, further down the avenue, Phil Marquez had his barber shop next to that old building of Farrad's. They used to make the best sourdough bread you have ever tasted. We'd go to the Green Mill Ballroom, and at 12:30 or 1, we'd go out to the back of Farrad's, and he would be getting the French bread out of those old-time ovens made out of bricks and adobe and heated with wood. Oh, it was good. Grocery store in the front, bakery in the back. But when they turned it modern with gas heating, his bread wasn't the same. He must have closed it up in the late 60s. Prosser's Bakery was on the avenue at Garden and Fix Way. Originally, he used to be on Santa Clara and Laurel, where there's a little grocery store, and right next to it he had his bakery. Elmer was a good friend. He used to just distribute bread locally, but then he opened up out on the avenue. He was doing real good. One piece of land I owned had a little paint shop in the corner, Culver Signs. He used to paint all around, billboards, signs, and such. That one lot was divided in, say, 3 places: the paint shop, this lady who lived next to it, and then someone who lived in the back. And then there was this empty lot that I bought, so that when I got the corner one, then I had enough to build the Fiesta drive-in. I built it from scratch, and it went from there. I didn't know anything about food. I didn't know how to boil water, but my wife was a very good cook. So they started saying that a freeway was going to go through there, so I said, why don't we start a little drive-in sandwich shop or a hot dog place? There was a gas station at Oak and Thompson, and I said, can I buy this from you guys? And he said, sure. What are you going to do with it? And I said, put in a taco place. Hardly anyone was serving Mexican food at a drive-in place, and nobody had burritos in 1953. I went to the city, and he says, there's tanks of gasoline in there. You can't put anything like that that's going to create a fire or anything like that. We'll give you a license if you fill those tanks with sand. Fill those tanks? There was 2 of them. 10,000 or 20,000 gallons or something. They have to be filled up with sand or dug out. One of the 2. I didn't have the money to excavate and everything else, so I got my little truck from the grocery store, and I would go to the beach, fill it with sand, and then with a big funnel, I would put sand into those tanks. Imagine how many trips and shovels to fill those tanks. They're as big as a room. Then I went to the fire department. They're up to the top. You sure? We'll go out and see. I don't think they are. So they put a hose with water so that the sand went down and the corners weren't filled up. Oh no, not more. We filled them all up. And then I added to the office and so on. We called it Rajos for Ralph and Joe. Hamburgers, 25 cents. Tacos, 19 cents. Menudo, under $1 for a quart every Saturday and Sunday. Times are so different nowadays. The same day I opened that place, I opened the Green Mill Ballroom. Same night, same day. It was a big night. We had Tex Beniki, or it might be Beneke, and searchlights. It was a big deal. The Green Mill was on Julian Street, off Main Street, by the river. It sat a little bit to the back, and in front was Frank Farrad's brother's little cafe. Then across Main Street was Archie Looper's cottage cafe. The building had a great big mill with big arms, with green lights on each one, like a fan, but it was stationary. It had a big gate, a ticket office, and steps leading up. There were green neon lights, and the building was kind of a grayish green. In the 1930s, it was a ballroom, and a fellow from Santa Paula used to run it. Once, in a great while, they would bring in a big band, but their regular band had a good danceable music, so we'd go dancing and then go to the Modern Cafe, the State Cafe or so, right up on Main Street. We had a great time. We were just kids. Next, Ed Oberg turned it into a bowling alley in maybe the late 30s, early 40s. I sponsored a team, Romero's Market Bowling Team. My brother used to bowl with us. We had a really good team. Then Oberg says, we're going to move. We're going to go to the Wagon Wheel. It's more centralized and a bigger bowling alley. My mind started working, and I said, gee, if we could come back with a dance hall, it would be terrific. But I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I didn't have the capital, but I knew I could borrow, so I asked a friend of mine, a janitor at May Henning School, Eddie Griego, to help me out with it. Well, that was 1952. We went in and started cleaning up and redoing it, and we got it up to date. We decided to open in March of 1953, and we got Tex Beneke and his band. Wonderful! I did the booking. It's just like any other kind of business with MC agents and all the bands. I did all the deals and all the work around, and I had the market and the restaurant. I was going nuts. I used to advertise weddings and receptions, and I had a caterer for the food. I used local bands, Tony Flores and Buddy Gibson and the Estradas from Oxnard, whoever I could get. If they were 18, they were all right. Of course, they couldn't be served at the bar. They had to be 21, but we only served beer. The only other place that had dancing then was at Foster Park, and they had Western music. Outside of nightclubs, that's the only place, and, nightclubs. So I had Western on Fridays. I didn't have Johnny Cash. He couldn't appear, but he sent some other bands. He used to live here in Casitas. We had Tito Puente, Xavier Cugat, the Penguins, Tommy Dorsey, Fats Domino, and Little Richard for the kids. I had Lawrence Welk, Les Brown, Earl Bostic, Bob Wills, and Spade Cooley. Harry James and I, we were buddies. And his drummer, Buddy Rich, best drummer in the country next to Gene Krupa. I had Jerry Gray, the Dorsey brothers, Jimmy Dorsey, Tommy Dorsey, and then I had Perez Prado, Luis Alcaraz, #1 band in Mexico, and Fernando Fernandez from Mexico. And then there was Luis Ventran and Jose Feliciano. Maria Victoria from Mexico with Luis Alcaraz, the biggest crowd I ever had. The Green Mill would hold about 1,200 people. And that night, there were over 2,000. It was solid, like cigarettes in a pack. You couldn't dance, but they wanted to see the compadres. Luis Alcaraz, and Maria Victoria. Carlos Medina used to come and take care of all the bands that would come into the United States. They would go into the $1 Million Theater and then go for 15 or 20 appearances. He was a very nice fellow to deal with. $500 at the very least. And from there, they would charge accordingly. Maybe $1,500 or $1,700 or $1,200. I was going to get the rock and rollers, the big shot, Elvis Presley. You know how much they wanted for him at the time? They wanted $15,000. He was very popular at that time, but I didn't have that room for him. 2,000 people? How much are you going to charge? Can't do it. I charged $1.50, $1.75 for a big band, and if it was a special band, $2, $2.50. You couldn't charge very much in the 1950s. Fridays, I had Western. Saturday, regular dancing with regular music for young kids. And on Sundays, the Mexican bands. The Estrada Brothers, locally. Tony Flores. He's got a bar on Telephone Road, the Keynote Lounge. He had a band, and his cousins used to play with him. I used to book local events from him. We closed in 1959 when the lease was up. They were going to take part of the land and so forth. I went to Oxnard and opened El Patio on Xavier's Road, and it was a dance hall. I operated there in 61, and I used to get all the big bands over there. And that's the end of Ralph Romero.